So what happens if you combine a singer's rise to stardom, an anime tournament arc, a legendary military strategist from ancient China, and then you mix them up in a hot pot of clubbing and partying in modern-day Tokyo? This is the extremely summarized premise of a very underrated show that went semi-viral this season because of a very catchy opening song. But despite its outlandish story and eye-catching visuals, nobody seems to be watching. So what does actually happen when you combine this huge mismatch of elements, and how do you not mess it up? Let's find out. Zhuge Liang, also known as Koumei, was an incredibly accomplished military strategist during the era of the Three Kingdoms in ancient China. Being part of countless battles and living in a time of war, on his deathbed Koumei only wished for one thing: to be reborn in a world that was peaceful. Through methods unknown, Koumei awakened in the body of his younger self and woke up in a random alley during Halloween in modern-day Tokyo. Pulled by two drunkards partying on the streets who mistook him for a cosplayer, he was immediately exposed to the party scene, and of course, they visited a local club. This is where he met a woman named Eiko, who sang on the live stage of the club he visited that night and was immediately enthralled by her voice. Fast forward to morning, passed out from the alcohol with no place to stay, Eiko took pity on Koumei and allowed him into her apartment so he could rest. During their time there, Koumei was able to understand that he was transported 1,800 years into the future and that he could no longer go back to his time and fulfill the promise he made to his friends. To comfort the man, Eiko sang a song and tears fell on Koumei's face. As a token of gratitude, Koumei pledged himself in the service of Eiko, and like a genie told her that he would grant her one wish, which would turn out to be that Eiko's dream was to perform on the biggest musical stage. The greatest military strategist of his era now uses his genius to help Eiko get her name out through social media and rise to the top of the music world. Everybody loves a good underdog story. I love it. And despite all the craziness and the gimmick of bringing a historical figure into the modern world, the bread and butter of this show is actually Eiko's journey. In the early episodes, Eiko is a relatively unknown singer trying to make a name for herself on a small stage in some random club in Tokyo. Despite her talent and her hard work towards trying to make it big, the circumstances were against her and she was being rejected left and right from all of her auditions. In a world dominated by social media, Eiko trudges along with her 200-follower social media page, not getting the chance she needs to showcase what she's capable of, and is considering giving up on her dreams. With her confidence down, hard work not paying off, and her gig not paying the bills, she still found it in her heart to help a random old weirdo, which would later turn out to be the person who changes her life. Koumei plays a big part not only in the entertainment factor but also the story of the show, but this wouldn't be any different to any other reverse isekai shows if that was everything it could offer. Eiko brings substance and acts as a lens for the audience, not only for them to root for but also empathize with. Every single one of us here, every single viewer of this video is trying to make it in life in some form or another. We're all underdogs in our own story, and having that relatability factor with Eiko takes the show to a whole new level, especially once Koumei uses his military genius to propel Eiko from unknown artist to performing on bigger stages with higher stakes. Now, while watching the show, I was immediately hooked with the pattern that the story was taking. Eiko, through the help of Koumei, meets bigger and bigger artists, performs in bigger and bigger stages, and beats them at their own game. This was established pretty much immediately during the first 3 episodes, and while I enjoyed it, I did have some worries about it being repetitive. We've definitely had a lot of these types of shows before, starting off great but ending up being trapped in a certain formula and ultimately being boring. Not to be confused by episodic shows, but when a story becomes predictable, well, it loses a lot of its novelty. It's a fair criticism for the show, that is, until the rappers started pouring in. The moment when I thought I understood the show's formula, they introduced another character with their own underdog story to be part of the crew. DJ Satori!
Whoa, 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 hey.
The setting and the premise is already great, but the characters that get introduced as Eiko continues to grow also adds not only variety but depth and world building. It helps in making the people in the show feel like actual people with their own battles, from the main crew to their rivals. Each person in the show is a different window to the music world of Paripi Koumei.
Paripi Koumei!
The show is crazy, unpredictable, but somehow it just works. They literally had a whole episode dedicated to rap battles and it was glorious. It doesn't allow you to be bored and it doesn't allow you to predict what's next, leaving you at the edge of your seat eagerly awaiting for the next episode. Not to mention the music. For music anime, the music that plays in the show can make or break it. Aside from the opening and the ending songs being absolute bangers, the songs that the artists in the show play are actually pretty good. Especially the ones by 96 Neko, a 1 million subscriber cover artist here on YouTube who voice acted Eiko on the singing parts. For an adaptation of a manga series that I have never heard of before watching the anime, this show definitely has a lot of heart poured into it. It's not just one of those shows that are meant to be cash grabs or advertisement for the manga. The animation, the pacing, the music, everything about this show screams passion, and of course, nobody's watching it.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
So, why is nobody watching? There's a couple of reasons why this show is being overlooked, and I hope that after this video you guys will give it a chance. Number one is competition. Even though the big shots of last season aren't airing anymore, most of the attention from this season is monopolized by Spy Family and the third season of Kaguya-sama. Both of these are great shows with massive following in the manga community. I even made a video on Spy Family if you want to see it at the top right corner of the video, but going back to Koumei, even though it started as a manga, it didn't really have the same amount or even close to the same amount of hype and excitement as compared to those two shows. Second reason is a little bit subjective. The art style for this show doesn't really pop out and capture your attention as much as the others. It's the type of show that if you know nothing about it and you're scrolling through what's currently airing, you're probably gonna think that this is just some generic reverse isekai show with a funny old man at the cover. At least that's what I thought. Overshadowed by bigger shows, generally unappealing at first glance, the show itself parallels the story that it's trying to tell. But I believe, much like Eiko's singing journey, that after this season is finished, Paripi Koumei has a chance to be one of those underrated classics in the anime community.
Do it! Just do it!
Subscribe for more videos, follow me on Twitch, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.